give it a few seconds just in case. Sometimes it cuts the first couple of seconds off. Well, happy Shavuot. It is the fourth festival in the 7 festivals, and right in the middle there's 3 in the spring, then there's this one in the summer, and then there's 3 in the fall, which is kind of cool. This one in the middle, if you look at the menorah, there's the one, and then there's 3 branches here and 3 branches here, and the festivals kind of follow like the menorah. So anyway, my name is Lanita. I'm the Scrappy Grandma, and I am reading actual festival portion 2 of Shavuot. Yesterday, Shavuot began last night at sundown and continuing through today till sundown. So I'm going to be reading the second festival Shavuot portion. And it is in, first off, Father Yah, thank you so much. Thank you for your feasts. First off, thank you so much for your feast. Thank you for the opportunity to share your word with whoever you send this video out to. And I just so appreciate that it's alive and that it reaches in and changes us on the inside. Bless this time. Keep a handle on the technology, that it continues to work properly, and send this video out to whoever it is that you want to hear it. It's an honor and a blessing to be able to read your word. In your son Yeshua's mighty name. Amen. All right. So we're going to start in Deuteronomy. And, Shavuot. Yeah, Deuteronomy 15. Sorry. Deuteronomy 15. Go outside. No barking. Deuteronomy 15:19 through 16:17. So it says 19. Set apart to Yah, your Elohim, all the firstborn males that come from your herd and your flock, and do no work with the firstborn of your herd, nor shear the firstborn of your flock. You and your household are to eat it before Yah, your Elohim, year by year, in the place which Yah chooses. But when there is any defect in it, lame or blind, or has any evil defect, do not slaughter it to Yah, your Elohim. Eat it within your gates, the unclean and the clean alike, as the gazelle and as the deer. Only do not eat its blood, pour it on the ground like water. 16. Guard the new moon of Abib and perform the Pesach. That's Passover. And Abib, this year, I think, now I can't even remember. It was a couple months ago. I can't remember if it was in March or April, my brain. Anyway, to perform the Pesach, the Passover, to Yah, your Elohim, for in the new moon of Abib, Yah, your Elohim, brought you out of Mitzrayim by night, and you shall slaughter the Pesach to Yah, your Elohim, from the flock and the herd in the place where Yah chooses to put his name. Eat no leavened bread with it. For 7 days you eat unleavened bread with it, bread of affliction, because you came out of the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, in haste, so that you remember the day in which you came out of the land of Mitzrayim all the days of your life. And no leaven should be seen with you in all your border for 7 days. Neither should any of the meat which you slaughter in the evening on the first day stay all night until morning. You are not allowed to slaughter the Pesach within any of your gates which Yah, your Elohim, gives you, but at the place where Yah, your Elohim, chooses to make his name dwell. There you slaughter the Pesach in the evening at the going down of the sun, at the appointed time you came out of Mitzrayim. And you shall roast and eat it in the place which Yah, your Elohim, chooses, and in the morning you shall turn and go to your tents. So from what I'm understanding, this is one of the traveling feasts where they have to go to the temple, go to the tabernacle, go to Jerusalem. And so they can't do the Pesach in their homes. They have to go. Now, of course, we're not able, there is no temple. We're not able to do this perfectly. We're not able to do it as stated because we're not able to travel. Some can travel to Jerusalem. I'm not able to travel to Jerusalem. And there's no temple anyway. And so that this is not being performed. But we believe that we're able to practice every year. And so in doing the Pesach, we practice. In doing the feasts, we practice. So on the 6th day, on 6 days, you eat unleavened bread. And on the 7th day, there is a closing festival to Yah, your Elohim. You do no work. Count 7 weeks for yourself. Begin to count 7 weeks from the time you begin to put the sickle to the grain. And so that is the barley harvest. Is right then by Pesach, the first fruits, barley harvest of, and then you shall perform the festival of Shavuot, which is today, to Yah, your Elohim, according to the voluntary offering from your hand, which you gave as Yah, your Elohim, blesses you. And you shall rejoice before Yah, your Elohim, you and your son and your daughter, and your male servant and your female servant, and the Levite who is within your gates, and the sojourner and the fatherless and the widow who are in your midst, at the place where Yah, your Elohim, chooses to make his name dwell. And you shall remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim, in Egypt, and you shall guard and do these laws. Perform the festival of Sukkot for 7 days. Sorry, decline a call. There we go. So now we're moving on to the fall festival. So perform a festival of Sukkot for 7 days after the ingathering from your threshing floor and from your winepress. And you shall rejoice in your festival, you and your son and your daughter and your male servant and your female servant and the Levite and the sojourner and the fatherless and the widow who are within your gates. For 7 days you shall celebrate Yah, to Yah, your Elohim, in the place which Yah chooses, because Yah, your Elohim, does bless you in all your increase and in all the work of your hands, and you shall be only rejoicing. 3 times a year, all your males appear before Yah, your Elohim, in the place which he chooses at the festival of Matzot, so at unleavened bread, at the festival of Shavuot today, or the summer festival, and at the festival of Sukkot. And none should appear before Yah empty-handed, but each one with a gift of his hands according to the blessings of Yah, your Elohim, which he has given you. And then the Haftarah, which is when Greece was ruling over Israel, and I'm pretty sure it was just the tribe of Judah, but I'm not positive, because I think the northern tribes had already been dispersed among the nations, and Greece was ruling over them. They were not allowed to read the Torah. And so what they did is they read out of the prophets and the books of wisdom, things that would remind them that were similar, that they could still teach their children and tell the stories of that they were learning in the Torah. So they could still teach the Torah, but using different books instead. So the Haftarah is Habakkuk. And I was like, I don't know that I've read anything out of Habakkuk in years. And so kind of cool. Habakkuk 3, 1 through 19. So all of the 3rd chapter of Habakkuk. A prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet, on Shigionoth. O Yah, I have heard your report. I was afraid. O Yah, renew your work in the midst of the years. Make it known in the midst of the years. In wrath, remember compassion. Eloah comes from Teman, and the set-apart one from Mount Paran, Selah. And Selah means pause and meditate and think upon. His splendor shall cover the heavens, and his praise shall fill the earth, and the brightness is as the light. He has rays from his hand, and there is power and his power is hidden. Before him goes pestilence, and a burning flame goes forth at his feet. He shall stand and the measure of the earth. He shall stand and measure the earth, and he shall look and shake the nations. And the ancient mountains are shattered, and the age-old hills shall bow. His ways are everlasting. I saw the tent of Cushan under sorrow, the curtain of the land of Midian tremble. Shall I burn against the rivers? Is your displeasure against the rivers? Is your wrath against the sea? That you ride on your horses, your chariots of deliverance? You uncover your bow, the oaths of the rod of the word Selah. You cut through the earth with rivers. The mountains shall see you, and they tremble. The storm of water shall pass over. The deep shall give forth its voice. It shall lift up its hands. Sun and moon shall stand still in their places. Like light, your arrows fly. Like lightning is your glittering spear. You step through the earth in rage. You thresh the nations in wrath. You shall go forth to save your people, to save your anointed. You shall smite the head of the house of the wrong by laying bare from foundation to neck. Selah. You shall pierce with his own arrows the head of his leaders. They storm along to scatter me, rejoicing as if to devour the poor in secret. You shall tread the sea with your horses, the foam of many waters. I heard, and my body trembled. My lips quivered at the sound. Rottenness came into my bones, and I trembled within myself, that I might rest for the day of distress to come upon the people who would attack us. Though the fig tree does not blossom, and there is no fruit on the vine, the yield of the olives has failed, the field brought forth no food, the flock has been cut off from the fold, and there is no herd in the stalls. Yet I exult in Yah. I rejoice in the Elohim of my deliverance. Yah, the master of my strength, and he makes my feet like those of deer, and makes me walk on my high places. To the chief singer with my stringed instrument. And then the Brit Hadashah, which is the Gospels and the letters after Yeshua, the Messiah. When the day of the festival, it is Acts 2, Acts 2, 22 through 42. Men of Israel, hear the words, Yeshua of Nazareth, a man from Elohim, having been pointed out to you by mighty works and wonders and signs which Elohim did through him in your midst, as you yourselves also know. This one given up by the set purpose and foreknowledge of Elohim, you have impaled and put to death through the hands of lawless men. Him Elohim raised up, having loosed the pangs of death, because it was impossible that he could be held in its grip. For David says concerning him, I saw Yah before me continually, because he is at the right hand, in order that I should not be shaken. For this reason my heart rejoiced and my tongue was glad, and now my flesh shall also rest in expectation. Because you shall not leave my being in Sheol, which I learned the other day that means grave. Sheol means grave. I love that I learned that. I think I learned it yesterday. So because you have shall not leave my being in Sheol, nor shall you give your lovingly committed one to see corruption. You have made known to me the ways of life. You shall fill me with joy in your presence. And that is Tem. So I have to look that up because I don't know the Hebrew. T-E-H and T-E-H. I think that is actually in Psalms, but yes, T-E-H is Psalms. So let me write that. I always like to write it in here so that I know. P-S-A-L-M. So David, this is, he's quoting Psalms 16, 8 through 11 there. So, men and brothers, let me speak boldly to you of the ancestor David, that he died and was buried, and his tomb is with us to this day. Being a prophet then, and knowing that Elohim had sworn with an oath to him of the fruits of his loins, according to the flesh, to rise up the Messiah, the Mashiach, to sit on his throne. Foreseeing this, he spoke concerning the resurrection of the Messiah, that his being was neither left in Sheol, nor did his flesh see corruption. Elohim has raised up this Yeshua, of which we have all witnesses. Therefore, having been exalted to the right hand of Elohim, and having received from the Father the promise of the set-apart Spirit, he poured out this which you now see and hear. For David did not ascend into the heavens, but he himself said, Yah said to my master, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. And that was from Psalms 110:1. Therefore, let all the house of Yisrael know for certain that Elohim has made this Yeshua, whom you impaled, both master and Messiah. And having heard this, they were pierced to the heart and said to Kepha and the rest of the emissaries. So to Peter, Kepha is Peter, that's his Hebrew name, Kepha, his true name. And the rest of the emissaries, the other disciples, apostles, disciples. Men, brothers, what shall we do? And Kepha said to them, repent and let each one of you be immersed in the name of Yeshua, Messiah, for the forgiveness of sin. And you shall receive the gift of the set-apart Spirit, the Ruach Ha'Kodesh. For the promise is to you and to your children and to all that are far off, as many as Yah, your Elohim, shall call. And with many other words, he earnestly witnessed and urged them, saying, be saved from this crooked generation. Then those indeed who gladly received his word were immersed, baptized. And on that day, about 3,000 beings were added to them, and they were continuing steadfastly in the teaching of the emissaries and in the fellowship and in the breaking of bread and in the prayers. So 3,000 came to the knowledge of Yeshua, to the gospel, to the good news. And just something to take note that a lot of people don't realize, when they say to study the scriptures and they refer the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and all the letters and Revelation, all the way to Revelation, none of those were written until long after Yeshua, the Messiah, had been crucified. So when it says to, in the New Testament where it says to study the scriptures, they're talking about the front of the book, the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, then the books of wisdom and the books of the prophets. So I hope this is a blessing. Rusty took the day off work to celebrate this holy day, and we are going to rest and enjoy and rejoice, because we're commanded to rejoice on Shavuot. So have a blessed Shavuot, and I will be back tomorrow to record this next week's portion. Be blessed. Bye.